Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Getting Started with Yulio webinar. My name is Nicole. I'm one of the client success specialists here at Yulio, and I'll be hosting today's session. The main objective for today's webinar is to provide an overview of the Yulio platform and some of its key features so that you can leave feeling confident to start creating your own VR experiences. This training will cover a lot of information, so if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to enter them in the question box and I will answer them during the question and answer period at the end of our session. My contact details are also on the screen now, so if you leave today's session with any questions or you'd like to follow up with one-on-one training later on, please feel free to reach out to me. Lastly, if you do have to leave today's session early, I am recording the full webinar and we'll send that to all registrants so you'll be able to watch it later and share it with your team as well. So here's our agenda for today's session. We'll start off by briefly going over Yulio Jump. We'll then do a quick overview of what you can expect to see in your Yulio account. After that, we'll go into creating and organizing your projects, followed by enhancing your projects with the Hotspot editor. And then we'll look at some options for viewing and sharing your projects, and then finish off with that Q&A period. So to start off, I'm just going to briefly go over Yulio Jump. So if you don't know, Yulio Jump is our cloud-based rendering engine, which is available through the Yulio extension for SketchUp, Revit, and CET. The extension is free to install and use for those with an active Yulio license. Yulio Jump allows you to generate content for virtual reality and augmented reality with only a few clicks, and then sends those files directly to your Yulio account where you can create your immersive VR experiences. I'm not going to be covering how to render with Yulio extension today, but you'll notice that I will be referencing it throughout the session. Okay, so following the webinar, if you're interested in learning more about using Yulio Jump, you can visit the CAD plugins page on our website. So that's just here. So this page offers detailed guides for Yulio Jump for CET, Revit, and SketchUp. And you can also download the plugins from this page as well. Okay, on top of that, we also have a learning portal. And this portal features on-demand training courses dedicated to Yulio Jump for CET, Revit, and SketchUp. And all of these resources are included in your account and are available to you and your team at any time. Of course, if you prefer, you can always reach out to me and I'd be happy to set up a meeting to walk you through the extension. Okay, now let's move on to a quick tour of your Yulio account. So when you first log in, you'll automatically be taken to your projects page. This is where you'll go to create a new project and where all the projects on your account will be stored. You can always navigate to the project page by clicking on this tab at the top of your page here. Next to this tab, we have the Headsets tab. This is where you can go to connect one or more headsets to your account. You can also download projects to your headsets from this secondary Headset Projects tab. And you can add up to 20 projects at a time to your headsets. Okay, the next tab we have is Collaborate. Collaborate is our presentation and collaboration tool, and this is where you can go to start a Collaborate session. Next to this tab, we have the Resources tab. This is where you can find some direct links to the CAD plugins page, which I just mentioned, and the learning portal. You'll also find a link to our knowledge base here. And this is a great resource to reference if you have any questions about how to use any of Yulio's features. The last tab at the top is where you'll see the email connected to your account. So if you click on account settings, you can view and update your personal Yulio account information. And the company settings tab is where account admins can keep track of account usage, manage licenses, and add custom company branding to the account. So if you click on this custom branding tab, You can add your company logo here, and it will appear every time you enter a project in VR or browser mode. So, this is a great way to kind of personalize your VR experiences. All right, so now that you have a good idea of what you can expect to see when logged into your Yulio account, let's go back to the projects page and we'll get into creating and organizing your projects. So, as you start creating with Yulio, all of your projects will be organized into folders along the left side of your screen. Yulio offers two different types of folders, public and private. You can tell which folders are public because there is a person icon next to the folder. When you log into your account, you should see this folder here titled Team. This is a public folder, and this means that this folder and all of the subfolders that you might create underneath it are visible to you and anyone that's a user on your account. The solid black folders here are private folders, and these can be helpful if you have more than one team member on your account. These folders are visible to you, any team members you give access to, and anyone listed as an admin on your account. So to create a new folder, you'll just click on this Create New Folder button on the left side of your screen, and then you can name the folder. And once you do that, it will appear at the bottom as a private folder. So if you want to make the folder public, what you can do is just click and drag it underneath your team folder. And this will make it a public subfolder under team. If you want to change it back to private at any time, you can just click and drag it back down to the bottom of your list. If you wanted to keep the folder private but give select team members access to your folder, you can select the folder, click on the three dots next to the name, and then select permission. All right, now let's get into creating our first VR experiences. So there's two ways to go about this. The first is with Yulio Jump. So when you render your projects with Jump, a new Yulio project will be automatically created for you, and it will appear in your Yulio account like this. If you choose not to render with Yulio Jump, you can create a new project manually just by clicking on this Create Project button. This will open up a new project where you can manually upload all of your scenes and any other content that you want to include. Today, we're just going to imagine that we rendered with Yulio Jump and our project has just finished processing. So right now I'm just going to open up this project here. This is the project we're going to use. And now I'm on the project edit page of this project, which was designed in CET and rendered with Yulio Jump. So as you can see, my project scenes that I captured in CET were processed and uploaded here for VR. With Jump, you can also choose to have your floor plan and augmented reality assets generated and uploaded for you, which I have done and I'll show you in a little bit. Like I said earlier, you don't have to use Yulio Jump to create a Yulio VR project. So if you choose to render your scenes with another rendering engine, you can manually upload those scenes just by clicking on this Browse button here. So since my scenes are ready, which is the most important part, let's go through some of the project enhancement assets that we can upload. So as you can see here, we have audio, images, video, AR, and floor plan. For the purposes of today's webinar, I'm going to take advantage of all of our enhancements so you can see how you can kind of use each of them to elevate your VR project. But please note that apart from having at least one scene, all of these enhancements here are optional. That being said, although they are optional, these extra project elements can help you provide your clients with some additional context around design choices and will help deliver kind of a more interactive and engaging experience overall. All right, so our first enhancement option is audio. And there's a couple of different ways you can incorporate audio into your VR experience. The first is through audio hotspots, which are placed as a clickable hotspot anywhere in your project. A couple of ways you can use audio hotspots are to insert a welcome message or describe a design choice. The second way you can incorporate audio into your project is through ambient audio. Ambient audio will automatically play when your viewer enters a scene, so there's no hotspot associated with this audio. A couple of ways you can use ambient audio would be to add music or background noise to your project to set a certain mood and make the experience more immersive. If you're interested, we do offer sample audio files for you to download from the project resources page, which you can access here from the resources tab and then project resources. So I'm just going to click on browse and upload my audio files. All right, now we'll move on to our next enhancement option, which is images. Here you can upload a JPEG or PNG file and add it as an image hotspot anywhere in your project. Some ways you can use image hotspots are to show your client a real life product shot, a material sample, or even a before and after photo. Again, to upload my images, I'm just going to click on browse and select those. Next, we have video. Like images, you can insert video anywhere in your project as a video hotspot. Couple of different ways we see video being used are to incorporate product videos or introduce the designer and have them share some details about the design. Anyone with an active Yulio license can add a video to their project from YouTube or Vimeo. To add a YouTube video, you'll just copy the YouTube link and then return back to the project page and then select add a video from YouTube and paste the URL. One thing to keep in mind when adding a third party video like from YouTube is that you will not be able to view the video in Yulio from a VR headset. You'll only be able to view the video in the browser mode experience, so that would be from your desktop or phone. Now, if you're interested in uploading a video file directly from your computer, Yulio offers a premium video add-on at an additional cost. And with this option, you can view the video in browser mode and on a VR headset. The premium video add-on also enables you to incorporate video scenes into your VR project. So if this is something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me later and I can put you in touch with one of our account executives to kind of go over that with you in more detail. Our next enhancement option is AR, or augmented reality models. As you can see, I already have my AR model uploaded here because, like my scenes, they were generated during the rendering process with Yulio Jump. A benefit of adding AR to your VR project is that you can bring certain objects in your project to life for your client. Using just a phone, tablet, or a VR headset, your client can actually see what the element will look like in the context of their own physical space. The easiest way to create AR content for your Yulio project is with Yulio Jump, and you can create AR models through Yulio Jump for SketchUp, CET, and Revit. If you want to learn more about adding AR to your Yulio projects, I encourage you to check out the Yulio Jump user guides, which I mentioned earlier, from the CAD plugins page on our website. So there's a user guide for Revit, SketchUp, and CET Designer. And you can download those depending on your preferred CAD tool. And there's a section included in each guide that covers AR assets. If you choose not to use Yulio Jump, again, you can manually upload an AR model from your files as long as it meets our compatible upload formats, which you can see by clicking on this tab here. Our final enhancement option is the floor plan. Like I mentioned earlier, if you render with Yulio Jump, your floor plan can be automatically captured and uploaded to your project for you, which I have done. So mine is already uploaded here. Again, if you don't use Jump, you can always upload your floor plan manually. If your space is multi-level, you can also add multiple floor plans here as well. So when you include a floor plan in your project, Yulio allows you to add location markers to that floor plan, which I will show you later on. These location markers will represent each of your scenes, and your clients can use those markers to help them identify where they are in the space and also use them to navigate to new scenes. Okay, so these are all the assets you can add to your project. You can always come back to this page at any time if you want to add more assets or remove assets. Something great about Yulio is that you don't have to remember to save any of your changes along the way. All of your edits are automatically saved as you go. So now that I have all my assets uploaded, the next step is to open up the hotspot editor and start adding the navigation and enhancement hotspots to my scenes using the assets I just uploaded. So you can open up the hotspot editor by clicking on this big blue button. Okay, so when you open the hotspot editor, you'll see that you are standing in your first scene. And if you look to the left side of the screen, you'll notice all of your hotspot editing options. So we'll go through each of these one by one. The first one here is target scenes. This is where you can add or edit your navigation hotspots throughout all the scenes in your project. So if you don't know, navigation hotspots are Yulio's form of point-to-point navigation. Your viewer can use them to navigate to new scenes, and they can help give your viewer a sense of walking around the space. As you can see, my navigation hotspots have already been placed for me during the rendering process. So that's what I've done here, and it saves me from having to do it manually myself. That being said, I typically like to come into the hotspot editor to fine tune the placement and size of my navigation hotspots that are generated through Yulio Jump. So this is where I would go to do that. If you want to adjust the location of your hotspot, you can just use your mouse to click on the hotspot and drag it where you want it. Yulio Jump will typically place your hotspots at about eye level, but we also seen users place the hotspots on the floor so that they don't take away from the scene. In this project, my second scene here, so view 2, is actually a seated view. So I like to move this hotspot down a little bit just so that it represents that seated view position. To edit the size of the hotspot, you can click on the hotspot and then select the pencil icon, and this will open up your hotspot properties. Um, so you can scroll down to the depth slider here to adjust the size of your hotspot. And I say size, but technically what this tool is doing is making your hotspot appear closer or further away in VR, which helps the viewer distinguish between near and far. So you'll adjust the depth slider depending on how far away or close you want the hotspot to appear in relation to your current camera position or view. So to me, this hotspot is pretty close, so I keep it towards the near end of the depth slider. Within your hotspot properties, you can also edit the title here or hide the title of your hotspot so that it doesn't appear on the screen. You can also change the color of your hotspot. So standard colors are white and black, but you can also open up this paint tool and select any color from that tool. All right, that's ready. So if you didn't use Yulio Jump, or if you just prefer to add your hotspots in manually, you can do so by dragging and dropping each scene into your current scene based on its location. So when you go to add a navigation hotspot, you'll see the thumbnail image here. That's your target view. This tells you where that camera or the hotspot should be positioned in the scene. So you would just drag and drop the hotspot into that location. From there, it will open up those hotspot properties like I just showed you, and then you'd be able to adjust the depth, the color, and so on. An important note to add here is if you are adding your navigation hotspots manually, you will have to remember to add your hotspots to each scene. So don't forget to move to the next scene and drag and drop your navigation hotspots into that scene as well, all the scenes in your project. All right, so now that I have my navigation hotspots, let's move down the list here. Here we have audio. So here are the audio files I uploaded earlier. This is just a welcome message that I'm going to add in here. So I'm going to drag it over here. And now here's my hotspot properties. I'm going to leave the title on. However, I'm just going to shorten the title to welcome because longer titles can kind of take away from your scene, especially when viewing in VR. So I like to keep them short. The depth, I'll just adjust slightly and then I'll press close. Next, we have text annotations or text hotspots. Some ways you can use text hotspots are to insert a welcome message, offer product details or specs, or provide any additional information about the space. So text hotspots are created here in the hotspot editor. As you noticed before, we didn't upload anything in advance for this. So to create a hotspot, you'll just select this button here. And I'm going to move my hotspot first over to where I want it. Okay, so I'm going to use this text hotspot to promote Yulio's 30-day free trial. So I'm going to start with my title. I'll write try Yulio. And in the description, you'll also notice that there's no hide option for the title. The title for text hotspots is always hidden, but you will see it if you hover over the hotspot, which you'll see later. So I can add a short message here. So I'm going to write like what you see, visit our website to sign up for a 30-day free trial. And then I can add an external link. So here's the title, and then I will add a link to our pricing page. So this is a clickable link that will appear when someone opens the text hotspot, and they can click on that link to visit an online web page or PDF that can provide more information. So here, if they click on the link, they'll be sent over to the pricing page on our website. I'm just going to adjust the depth a little bit and then press close, and that is ready. Our next hotspot option here is images. And I'm actually going to move to my third scene to add an image hotspot. And I can do that just by clicking on this drop down scene list and then view 3. Okay, so here's the images I uploaded earlier. Ideally, when you're creating and placing your enhancement hotspots, we recommend sprinkling those hotspots throughout all the scenes in your project. So that's why I moved over to scene 3. This can help keep your clients engaged as they move from scene to scene, and it also helps keep you from flooding one single scene with a bunch of hotspots. So now that I'm in this new scene, I'm going to add in my image hotspot just by dragging and dropping it into the scene. So this is a photo variation, sorry, a photo of another variation of this shelving system. So I just placed it over the shelf there. Let's open up those hotspot properties again. So I'm going to hide the title for this hotspot just so that it's not distracting within my scene. And then I have the option to, again, add a link to this hotspot. So for something like this, I might add a link to the product page. So we'll add that in, and then I can go to the product page and insert that. So when my client clicks on the hotspot, if they want to learn more about that product, they can click on the link and be sent to that product page. Then I'll adjust the depth and press close. The next hotspot we can add is video. And I'm actually going to move to my second scene to add my video. So I can move to another scene here just by clicking on the hotspot and then clicking on this jump to scene button. So we do often see videos being placed on a screen, so a TV or a computer, but you can place them anywhere you'd like. For this project, I'm just going to place it right on the desktop screen. I'm going to hide the title again for this one. Again, you can add an external link, but I'm just going to leave that blank today. And then I'm going to adjust the depth to near and press close. All right, the last hotspot I can add here is AR hotspots. Like I said earlier, I rendered this project with Yulio Jump and I added AR models to my renders. So my AR hotspots, as you can see here, were already generated and placed in my project for me. So similar to navigation hotspots though, sometimes the placement or the size of the hotspots that are generated through Jump can be slightly off. So I do like to come in and adjust them if needed. So if I click on the model here, I can, I can adjust the location and the size as well. I can also unhide the title so that it's showing here as well. Okay. One thing I want to mention about AR models and generating AR models out of Yulio Jump is that Jump will place the AR model onto the object in every scene that you render. So, for instance, if I jump to scene 4, as you can see, we're way back at the back end of the scene now. The AR hotspot was placed on the chair, but it's very far away from us. So in my opinion, it doesn't really make sense to have the hotspot in this scene because the furniture is so far away from this perspective. And I can get a better view of this chair from my first, second, or even my third scene. So what I would do here is actually just delete the AR hotspot from this scene. Or if I want to keep it, since I have the same chair over here, I can just move it closer. So I can move it onto this chair just so that it's closer and press close. If I deleted it, I just want to show you that I can delete it from this scene and it will still be viewable in the first scene or any other scenes that I have it in. All right, moving on from hotspots, I'm going to click on this icon here, which is our floor plan. And what you can do in the hotspot editor to enhance your floor plan is add location markers that are associated with your scenes. So because I rendered with Jump and selected Add Floor Plan, all of my location markers have been accurately placed on the floor plan for me. However, if you didn't use Jump, you would be able to come into the hotspot editor and add them in manually just by dragging and dropping them into the floor plan. So I can show you what that would look like just by deleting one of these. So I can see a preview of the location of this marker from this thumbnail. And what I want to do is just match that location as best as possible by dragging and dropping the marker onto the floor plan. You don't have to be perfect, but get as close as possible if you can. And then with these location markers, once they're all set, your client will be able to easily identify where they are in your space. So depending on which scene they're in, when they open up the floor plan, the location marker that represents the scene they're in will be highlighted blue like this. They can also use the location markers to navigate to a new scene just by clicking on any of them. The final enhancement that we're missing is our ambient audio. So ambient audio is actually created outside of the hotspot editor. So I'm going to go click on this back button here and return to the project edit page. So now that I'm back on this page, I'm going to add my ambient audio under the scenes tab, which we're in now. So you can add ambient audio to any or all scenes in your project. Um, Ambient audio will play as soon as your client enters the scene where you've added the audio. So to add this ambient audio to a scene, you're going to click on uh, first choose which scene you want to add it to, and then click on the sound button. And then here's those audio files I uploaded earlier. I'm going to use my office ambience one for this, so I'll click on that. And then from here, I can choose to loop it indefinitely or loop it just once. So I'll play it once and then press save. Now when my client enters the first scene here or view one, that audio will play automatically. And if I want to add it to any more scenes, I'll just repeat those steps for each scene. To remove the audio, I can click on the audio again and then just deselect the audio and press save. Okay, so at this point, my project is ready to go and I can go ahead and view it. So there's a couple of different ways you can open and view your project, but from this page, you can just click on this button here, View in 360, and it will open up your project in browser mode. So as you can see, my navigation hotspots and those enhancements that I added to my first scene are here in the project. We'll explore this a little bit more and test out some of the hotspots during our collaborate session shortly, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what the project looks like. So I'm just going to exit out of that. So before we get into sharing and presenting your projects and then kind of going over those hotspots that we added, I just want to cover a few more things that you can do from your project edit page, which is this page here. So one feature I want to highlight is the replace button. So this button allows you to re-render and upload scenes without having to create an entirely new VR project. So if you render new scenes with Yulio Jump will send those scenes to a new project in Yulio, and you can download those files by clicking on this download button here. Then you can come to your original project to replace your original scenes with the new ones. So to replace a scene, you would just click on this icon and a pop-up will appear to upload the new file from your computer and replace your original scene. So this is beneficial because when you do this, Yulio will allow you to keep all of your navigation and enhancement hotspots so you don't have to redo them. So if you have to make changes to your scenes, you can kind of take advantage of the download and replace functions. Another thing you can do from this page is duplicate your project with our copy function. So this is a helpful tool to make changes to your project without affecting the original. You can also duplicate your project if you want to share it and you're worried about anybody maybe making any changes to the original copy. So you can duplicate it just by clicking on this icon here, and a copy of your project will be created and added to the same folder. Okay, the next thing I want to cover is some ways that you can share your projects. So from the project edit page, you can see 4 tabs at the top here. We have assets, markups, share, and analytics. I'm just going to click on share. So within this tab is where you'll find your project URL. So each project you create with Yulio has its own unique URL, and you can come here and copy it to share it anywhere you would share a regular URL. Anyone with this link can open and view your full project unless your project is set to private, which I will show you how to do later. On the right side of your URL, there's a few more sharing options. This first icon opens up your project's unique QR code, which you can download and print or share it digitally. In an event or a trade show setting, you can have this code on display at your booth, and anyone with a smartphone can actually scan the code and the project will appear on their phone. The next icon we have is for text sharing. And then we have an embed icon, which allows you to embed your project directly on your website. So this is a great feature because you can showcase one or more projects on your company website and they are fully interactive. I'll show you an example of what this could look like. So here is an example of a project that's embedded on the Yulio website. So it gives you that full browser mode experience, and you can go scene to scene and click on hotspots as well. Okay, so that's the embed icon. If you need help embedding your project, we recommend you reach out to your IT team or marketing team for help with that. On top of these options here, another way you can share your projects is through client galleries. So to create a client gallery, you would click on the Resources tab and Client Galleries. So here you would have two gallery options, individual and event. So an individual gallery allows you to upload and share a personalized gallery of Yulio projects directly with your client, and they can view their gallery of projects on their phone, tablet, computer, or a VR headset. An event gallery is great for setting up a custom project gallery on your VR headset before heading into an event or a meeting. The best part about client galleries is you can create as many shareable galleries as you'd like without having to purchase another Yulio license. Okay, now I'm just going to return to my project page. So after sharing your projects, you might want to know how you can keep track of when and how they're being viewed. So you can do that by clicking on this Analytics tab. And here you can see some data around how, when, and where this specific project has been viewed, and it will break down that data by individual view. Oops, let's go back here. The final tab I want to show you is the Markups tab. So when you click on this, it will open your markups report. And this is a great way to keep track of feedback on your project over time. So you can mark up projects while in browser mode or during a collaborate session, which I will show you shortly. And if I had any markups on my project already, I would be able to see them recorded here. This feature is enabled on all of your projects by default, but you can disable it by going to your project settings. So your project settings you can locate by clicking on this gear tab or gear button. And then you can turn off project markup for um, these are your individual project settings. So if you turn off project markup, it will only be for this project. Another thing you can do here is, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to private your project, so if you've maybe shared that URL link and you want to revoke access to that, you can set your project to private. So when it is private, only members of your Yulio account who are logged in and authorized clients can view the project. So an authorized client would be a client that has the project available to them through a client gallery. All right, so let's wrap up today's webinar with a collaborate session. And like I said, we'll view some of those hotspots that we added earlier. So Collaborate is Yulio's presentation tool. When you host a Collaborate session, you can have everyone meet remotely, but in the same virtual space. So you can guide colleagues or clients around your project, see what they're seeing, and collect feedback all within the same session. And guests that you're meeting with can choose to join in a VR headset or from their internet browser. So to launch a Collaborate session, you're just going to click on Collaborate and then start collaborating. And then you're going to select which project you'd like to host your session in. So once you've opened the project, you can go ahead and invite guests to the session. So to do this, you're going to click on this person icon with the plus sign on it. If your participants are in a position where they can see the screen that we're looking at now, they can scan this QR code on their phone and join on their mobile device. You can also share this direct link with them, or they can join by going to live.yulio.com and entering this unique group code. So I'm going to ask whoever wants to join this session to join on your mobile device. So you can either scan this QR code with the camera on your phone, or you can visit live.yulio.com and enter the group code. And today's group code is GYDX. So I'll give everyone a minute to join. And I'll just repeat the link here. It's live.yulio.com, and the group code is GYDX. Okay, so when a new guest joins, I will be able to click on the participants tab and see them joined here. So if you've joined on your mobile device, you can look at my screen to see what your perspective will be as you host sessions moving forward. And then what you see on your mobile device is what your guests will see as the participants. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the session. So looking at my screen as the host, there's two ways you can present your Collaborate session. We have present mode and explore mode. By default, your Collaborate sessions will open in present mode, and we recommend starting off in this mode because it gives you as the host some control to guide your viewers through the experience and tell the design story. In this mode, guests cannot activate any hotspots, and they're restricted to the scene that the host is in. Only when the host activates a hotspot can they view the hotspot, and only when the host navigates to a new scene will the guest navigate to a new scene. Before we start testing our hotspots, another important thing to note is that while in presenter mode, your guests will be in the same scene as you, but their screens will not be following your gaze exactly. So if you join the session, you'll notice that we're in the same scene, but as I look around, the view on your phone doesn't follow. So if I want to direct my guests' attention to a certain area, I can use our spotlight tool. So let's say I want to direct your attention over to this text hotspot. I'll just direct my gaze there and then click on this spotlight button, which looks like a flashlight. So if you're in the session, you should notice that your gaze was redirected to where I'm looking. All right, so now let's take a look at some of our hotspots, starting here with that text hotspot. So I can open that up, and here is that external link that I added earlier. So if I clicked on that, that would open up that external web page. Now I can click on my navigation hotspot and we can move to view 3. So if you join the session, you'll notice that you moved scenes with me and we're now viewing the space from a new location. From here, I can open up my image hotspot. So you should see that on your screen as well. And then here's that external link to the product page that I added earlier as well. Now, if I open up the floor plan, I can do that by clicking on this floor plan button. I can identify where I am or where we all are in the space based off the location markers that I added earlier. So as you can see, the location which we're standing is highlighted blue. And I can navigate to a new scene just by clicking on one of these markers. So let's move back to scene 1 or view 1. So now that we're back in this scene, let's try out our AR hotspot. So we'll click on the AR and open this up. So this is what the browser experience looks like when viewing an AR hotspot from your computer. So I can click and drag my mouse to view the object in full 360. If your guest has joined the Collaborate session on their computer also, what they can do is click on this AR button and scan this QR code with their smartphone or their tablet, and this will open the AR object on their device where they can see the object in the context of their own space. And from there, they can position it, scale it, and walk around it. If your guests join the Collaborate session from a VR headset with mixed reality capabilities or from their phone or tablet, they will be able to just open up the object and have that true AR experience without having to scan any QR code. So, if you join the session from your phone, you can go ahead and try that out now just by clicking on the AR button at the bottom of your screen. And then, if you didn't join and you were able to scan that QR code, I'll just pull it up again. Um, you can scan that now with your phone and take a look at the AR object. You just want to make sure when using AR that you have enough space around you to drop the object um, into the space or it might not function properly. All right, now let's just return to our session here. So, as the host of the session, while in presenter mode, you can give host privileges to any of your guests at any time. So, to do this, you would just click on their name, and then your guests will kind of be in control and they can click on hotspots and move to new scenes and so on. So, this is kind of a good way to let one or more of your guests take control of this session. The last tool I want to show you here is the project markup tool, which you can open just by clicking on this pencil icon. So as I mentioned earlier, this feature allows you to mark up your projects while in browser mode or during a Collaborate session. So this is a great tool for recording feedback from your clients during the session, and any markups made here will be automatically recorded in that markup report that I showed you earlier. So when I click on this tool, I have a couple options for marking up my project. I can draw here with the pen tool, and then I can add text comments as well. And then if you join the session, you should be able to see those markups that I added on your screen as well. And then, like I said, they will all be recorded in that markup report. So before we wrap up, I just want to quickly go over Explore mode that I mentioned it earlier. So Explore mode allows your guests to explore the full project at their own space, at their own pace. So they can click on hotspots, they can move to new scenes, and so on. So during this time, Explore mode will auto pan through each guest's gaze for 10 to 15 seconds. So you can get an idea of where your guests are looking and what they're paying attention to. All right, now I'm just going to end the Collaborate session by clicking exit and return to my slides. And that will wrap up today's webinar. So I know that was a lot of information to take in a short amount of time, but I hope that you were able to learn a little bit more about Yulio, what you can find in your Yulio account, and how easy it is to start creating VR projects. So thank you all for joining me today. If you have any questions, you can submit them in the chat box, and I will stick around for the next couple of minutes to answer those. As a reminder, if you want to book an additional training session with me, my email is up on the screen now, so please feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to work with you to set up a time for us to meet. Of course, you can also email me at any time if you have any questions that pop up later. So I'll stick around for a couple of minutes to see if we have any questions, but other than that, thank you for joining me and have a great rest of your day.